Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's presentation, our initial information live stream on the zoning of the Timber Mill High School feeder school pattern, also the new Conroe Area Junior High and the new Conroe Area Intermediate. We've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to give you a lot of information and make it succinct as possible. Before we get to that, I've got a number of key people to introduce that are really important in this process. And I'm going to start. We're going to go around the horn, and I'm going to throw it to Dr. Medford, Dr. Bethany Medford, our Deputy Superintendent, who's going to say a few words.
Hi, it's good to see all of you, I guess, this evening. I just wanted a chance to introduce myself. I started in Conroe back in 2002 as a teacher at Pete Junior High. Taught at Pete Junior High for 10 years back in what we refer to now as the old Pete, which is the current Conroe 9th grade campus. I was an assistant principal at Runyon Elementary for 3 years, and then was the principal at Bosman and Cryer for combined 7 years before coming to central office. So I have 2 daughters, twins that graduated from Conroe High School last year. They are proud Conroe Tigers. So thanks for tuning in and listening through this process. We're here to help, and thank you.
Next up, Dr. Chris Povich, our Assistant Superintendent of High Schools.
Good evening. I'm Chris Povich, the Assistant Superintendent for High Schools, and I've worked at the Woodlands High School in Oak Ridge and Grand Oaks areas as a principal, and now I'm at Central Air, and I've got 2 boys. They're in CSD attending schools, and I had the good fortune of being there at the Woodlands when we opened College Park, and then I actually had the good fortune to open as the principal at Grand Oaks High School. So looking forward to working on Timber Mill High School.
Next up is Dr. Jeff Stickler, our Assistant Superintendent of Middle Schools.
Hi, this is Jeff Stickler. Like Mr. McCord said, Assistant Superintendent for Middle Schools. We're really excited about this opportunity. I live in East County. I was principal at Caney Creek High School, and I know that that's going to be a big piece of what happens with this rezoning. So very interested in it myself and for our neighborhood. But I know we're going to do a great job, and turn it back over to Chris.
So next up is Dr. Shelley Winkler. She is our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelley Winkler. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for elementary schools, and elementary schools go through rezoning just about every year. So I know it's a big process, but we're here to support and make sure that we have a great new feeder zone for Timber Mills High School, and make sure that our elementary schools are here to support you.
So an important thing to note if you're viewing, live streaming this with us tonight, is that this will be recorded. And so we will effort to get it online, possibly as early as tomorrow. It'll be at the zoning website. We'll take it tomorrow and convert it to a file that's suitable for YouTube. So you'll be able to go back and view this at any time you want, or forward it to anyone you want. You're welcome to take notes, but it certainly is not really required. It will all be there. And really, basically, everything that we're going to show you tonight is already available at the Conroe ISD Attendance Boundary Zoning website. And I will show that to you in just a few minutes. So we're not going to take too much time. So I'm going to get this ball rolling here if things work right. And so as we get started, I'm going to work here to share a screen. And Dr. Stickler, do you see my screen? I want to make sure before I talk for 30 minutes. Outstanding. So we're here to talk about the zoning of the Timber Mill High School and the Timber Mill High School feeder. But it's also worthy of note, we're also talking about the zoning for the new Conroe Area Junior High and the new Conroe Area Intermediate. So if we're going to make this happen and make a good recommendation to the Board of Trustees, which is our plan as always, it's really important to start with some really good objectives. So the objectives that we've set out with, just to talk about first off, is to create the obvious, the attendance boundary for Timber Mill High School. But remember, when you're creating an attendance boundary for Timber Mill High School, at the same time, you're creating not just for the high school, but for the Timber Mill High School feeder. But by association, you will also be establishing the high school feeders for Caney Creek High School and Conroe High School. Also, we need to establish the attendance boundary for the Conroe Area Junior High and the Conroe Area Intermediate. And we want to leave room for future growth because these areas are growing fast, which is why we have new schools in those areas. And I tell people all the time, it's the second half of that sentence that's a challenge. But by default, when we do this, we need to consider which schools will feed into Conroe High School's feeder. as well as Timber Mill and Caney Creek. And lastly, you may remember in the year 2023 and 2024, we did the rezoning and the initial attendance boundary for Bartlett Elementary. When we established the Bartlett Elementary zoning website and all the information that was there, and ultimately the zones themselves, we did so, but we addressed, besides just starting at Bartlett Elementary, we addressed overcrowding at a number of different campuses that served both the Caney Creek and the Conroe High feeders. In fact, those included Anderson, Austin, Creighton, Patterson, Runyon, and Wilkinson. Our goal, at least initially, is to the extent possible to develop high school, junior high, and intermediate boundaries and feeder pattern boundaries that use the building blocks of those elementary schools to the extent that we can to keep those cohorts of kids together vertically from elementary school to high school. It may not be completely possible, but that is our initial efforts that we're striving toward. And just to go back in time in the time machine, this shows you the before and after of the elementary school zones in Caney Creek and Conroe. The ones that stand out to me, you can see principally receive the most benefit as far as reduction of capacity issues. You can see Austin Elementary in the top right in the dark pink. You can see Patterson in the light pink in the top middle. Anderson, you can see in the very top and middle in the yellow in the north. You can look down and you can see Runyon in that teal color. And you can see that a lot of schools received assistance. So this is part of it. So to some degree, the rezoning process for the Timber Mill feeder started in the year 2023. As far as where we are tonight, if you look here in the lower right-hand column, we are at March 25th. So this is our first of 4 presentations. This one, of course, will be recorded for you that you can view at any time, and it will be on the website. Ultimately, our plan is to make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees on July 15th, 2025 in the heart of the summer. And remember, it is the Board of Trustees that makes the final decision. Our committee will work for the many months that we've been involved in this process and as a district, really over a year or a year and a half to get to this point, to make recommendations that you can be proud of and the board can be proud of. But the plan is to make the final recommendations to the board on July 15th. Some things that people are probably interested in if you're tuned in here tonight. First off, here is a computer rendition of Timber Mill High School, the entryway. This is on 2700 North Loop 336 East. It is just northeast of Stockton, Patterson, and Bosman. And if you've been out there lately, you can see the dirt work has started. It'll open in August of 27. It has a capacity of 3,800 students. Just a little bit to the south, FM 1314, just north of Crichton Road. It's north of Crichton Road, and it's on the east side of the road. And that will be on a contiguous piece of property that will house both the new Conroe area junior high and the new Conroe area intermediate. Note the junior high opens in August of 27, coinciding with the opening of Timber Mill High School. But on the same property as the junior high, the intermediate school will open in August of 2026. So they will be on the same location on 1314. The junior high opens 1 year earlier. We have a great committee that has had experience. We've worked on other zoning scenarios, and here are your members representing you. We have representatives from all over the district, including parents, including principals, and non-voting district members. And you can see we have 2 from each feeder. And so these people have done a great job. We owe them a debt of gratitude and their appreciation, and I thank them along the way for what they've done. I said earlier, and I'll mention again, the website is really the place to go. Everything that has anything to do with the zoning process will be at the website. This is what the entryway looks when you first come in on the splash page. I will tell you, you can get there really 2 ways. You can go to the Conroe ISD website and click on departments, or what I find to be easier, you can also, committees, click on committees. But what might be easier is to go into Google and just Google Conroe ISD attendance boundary process, and it will take you straight to the zoning webpage. But once you get there, there's information on community presentations, including this one. This is where the recording of this webinar will be deposited for you to view at your leisure. Information on current zones at all different levels, also scenarios that are in play, scenarios that are no longer in play, and you can view those at your leisure when you want to. Frequently asked questions, and the frequently asked questions are specific to zoning. They're not to a point yet where we're talking about programs or athletics or fine arts or things of that nature. It's specific to zoning. You can also, if you choose to do so, submit your own feeder zone scenarios for the Timber Mill High School, the new junior high, and a new intermediate school. There is a spreadsheet there that gives detailed information on how to complete that if you choose to do so. The committee, we consider a lot of things over many, many months. And I tell people, if you look here at these hexagonal tiles, all these are something, but none of these are everything. But I would direct your attention to the center middle left hexagon, the one that says geographical proximity. And what I would tell you is that when you look at the one that says geographical proximity, our goal, among other things, is to the extent possible, with what we have to work with our campuses, and with the roads we have and avenues of travel, to put together attendance boundary recommendations to the Board of Trustees where people are as close as possible to go to school to where they live, eat, sleep, and play. But all these are factors, which then brings us to the players that are involved. So this is not a complete and comprehensive look at all schools that could be impacted by rezoning, but this is a look at the campuses that would most prominently be impacted by rezoning and are in the most need of capacity assistance at this time, with the key player being Conroe High School. If you look at Conroe High School, here's a picture from the south looking to the north. It currently is at 112% of capacity. It currently is undergoing renovations at this time. We are maxed out on portables. You know, it's not just that it's 112% of capacity, it's that the capacity is represented by bodies that are adult in size. So it is going to be a tremendous benefactor by the opening of Timber Mill High School. But you can't talk about Conroe High without talking about the ninth grade campus, because it's part of that 4-year cohort, a group that will be part of the school at any one given time. Here's a picture. You can see the new tennis courts in the foreground, the school in the background. It is completely maxed out on portables and electricity, but it is over capacity at 108%. Caney Creek High School also over capacity to the east. The thing about Caney Creek, it's growing rapidly due to a lot of factors on the east side of our district, but including and not limited to Sweetwater Ridge, Ardavia, Mavera, and Evergreen. So Caney Creek is very much involved, as is the coming Caney Creek High School 9th grade campus. This will open fall of 2027, so it will coincide with the opening of Timber Mill High School and the new junior high. And since it's the Caney Creek High School 9th grade campus, it will obviously be a part of the Caney Creek High School feeder. Now, located close to Timber Mill, just to the southwest, is Stockton Junior High School. Here's what I think a lovely twilight picture of Stockton. Stockton is right at capacity. Remember, Stockton, Patterson, and Bosman are located basically on the same contiguous piece of property with Timber Mill close. So a lot of growth is going to Stockton, Patterson, Bosman, and Timber Mill. But the two principal places that's coming from include Cliffstone Hills and McKenzie Creek, among others. Here's Pete Junior High, also at capacity. Here's a drone picture on the west side of 45 from the north looking toward the south. Bosman Intermediate School. After Conroe High School, the campus most in need of capacity relief is Bosman. It is really growing rapidly. It is at 117% of capacity. The new intermediate school will be a tremendous help for Bosman. So when you look at the scenarios online at the attendance boundary website, it's important to note that the high school scenarios are noted by whole numbers, for example, 1 or 2, to keep it straight. The junior high scenarios are capital letters, for example, capital A or capital B. And the intermediate scenarios are lowercase letters, lowercase a, lowercase b, lowercase c, etc. So I'm going to show you some scenarios. These are the ones that have been presented to or created by the attendance boundary committee members to this point. Note that some scenarios will be added or removed for consideration throughout the process. To view those that are under and no longer under consideration, you need to go to the attendance boundary website. I'm not going to spend any reasonable amount of time on each of these scenarios, but I'm going to show them to you briefly. So if you want to look at them, you can go to the website. After this webinar is recorded, you can obviously stop it if you want to view it in that manner down the road. So really, without further ado, here we go. So the thing I would show you here on the left or west, you see Conroe High in yellow. You see Caney Creek represented, its current boundaries in pink. On right here, here is scenario 1. And what I would note about the scenario is that gray, everything in gray represents Timber Mill High School. You have scenario 1 at the high school level. You have scenario 2 at the high school level. You have scenario 2.1 at the high school level. And you have scenario 2.1.1 at the high school level. And all these are at the attendance boundary website. If you look at it at your leisure as long as you need to. Right here, if you see this black star where my cursor is, that is the location of Timber Mill High School. Going to junior highs, right here in the west, you have Pete, you have Stockton in blue, and over here you have Moorhead, vertically north to south in pink. So scenario A is no longer under consideration by the committee. You can view that at the website under the obvious no longer under consideration tab. You also have scenario B with the new junior high represented in gray. Then you have scenario B.1. You have scenario C. You have scenario D at the junior high level. When you come to the intermediate, it's a little more involved, and I will go around the horn going going west to east. You have represented in this green color, you have Stewart, you have Gordon Reed in this orange shade. Over here, you have Cryer. Then you're going to have Travis. Right here, you have Bosman in blue, which is a large zone. You have Veterans Memorial and the Candy Creek Feeder in lime green. And at the south, in this pink color, you have Grangerland Intermediate. So those are the campuses at the intermediate levels. Right now in play for intermediate zones being considered, attendance boundary possibilities. You have scenario A. The new school is located right here, but donated by the star in number 70. But you have scenario A, scenario B, scenario B.1, gray, representing the new intermediate. So those are all there for you at this time. So what I would tell you is you can go back, you can look at the website, you can view those as much as you want. And remember on the website, it's also helpful to look at the page where it gives you the current boundary maps to give you some perspective. So you almost need to look at them side by side at times, but I think that will help you a lot. So I'm going to talk about just really a couple of questions that families have at this juncture. But remember, like I said earlier, we're only talking about if they're directly related to zoning. And the most obvious one I'll talk about is, for example, our family specifically purchased our home to go to a certain school. Why are you considering rezoning? Well, districts all over the state and the nation that are growing rapidly like ours do and they have to do rezoning from time to time. We take it seriously. We have a process which is lengthy and thought out and considerate of the fact that we're dealing with families and children. And so we do our very best. And regardless of where a kid goes to school, we're committed to giving the best experience we can. The second question you might have that's really more specific is, what about a student that would be going into their last year at their campus next year, but they were saying they were being rezoned? For example, if a kid was being rezoned and they were an eighth grader, incoming eighth grader to Pink Junior High, if they're going into their last year and they were rezoned, if a parent or guardian requested a transfer, we would generally allow it, provided the parent or guardian provided transportation. But there's more. For example, say a student was being rezoned next year, and say they were an eighth grader of next year at Pete, but say they had a younger brother or sister, a sibling that was going to be a seventh grader. Assuming they're in the same family and the parent or guardian can provide transportation, and the parent or guardian requests a transfer, generally those are allowed also if requested. So there are quite a few more frequently asked questions that are at our website that are specific to zoning. Note along the way as we go through this process, which we're just now getting started, that there may be more frequently asked questions that are given. If you want to give feedback at the website is appreciated, and you can give that and just submit your name and where you have a child or children at, and it's really very helpful. That is the information we have at this time. Once again, this will be recorded, and we will work, if possible, to have it on the website for you to view if you want to relive this presentation at your leisure as early as tomorrow. But if we can't get it posted by tomorrow, Thursday for sure. So that's what I have at this time, and we appreciate you. And thanks for taking a little bit of your time to tune in. And we'll have another webinar here in a little while, a few weeks, and I invite you to join us at that time also. Thank you so much.